Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday Night Live with independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator Teresa Harper. I'm located in Oregon in the United States, and I'm so glad you joined me tonight, and I'm very appreciative of you spending a little bit of your day with me. Thank you so much. Okay, let's go ahead and see who we can see on, and then we'll get started here in a minute or two. Just give everybody a couple minutes to find us. And I'm going to need a minute or two to find myself, because it always takes just a little bit of time between the time I start and the time that Facebook catches up. So let's go ahead. Hello, Tracy. Hello, Cher. Hello, Cynthia. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you so much. All right, so we're going to do what I like to call Sneak Peek Week. Say that 3 times really fast. And we're also going to be using the April product of the month, the Eyelet Blooms dies. So this is a product that Stampin' Up! Has released that you can get with a qualifying purchase here in the United States of $75. You can also get it in other markets, but their qualifying amount is based on each market. And here in the U.S., you can get this added on for only $5 when your purchase meets that $75 threshold. And that is after you've used any coupons that you may have or Stampin' Rewards, but before shipping and any taxes that you may have in your area. Here in Oregon, we don't have those, so, but I know that watchers watch from all over. So, we're going to start tonight with a new butterfly bundle. This will be available beginning next Tuesday, May 5th. And this is called Aflutter. When you purchase the bundle, which you need to use the bundle number, which is 167570. In that bundle, you get both the Aflutter punch and the Aflutter stamp set. Okay. And of course, now all of our stamps are photopolymer because Stampin' Up! Had an issue getting the raw materials needed to make the red rubber stamps. So this is what we're going to be using tonight, along with the Eyelet Blooms dies. And it's been about 3 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. So in addition, excuse me, to the products that I've just showed you, we are also going to be using the new in colors on this project, in case you haven't seen those. These are the ink pads that I'll be using. I'm not using Barely Blush ink on this particular one. We'll use it on the next card. So we've got Peaceful Pine, Crisp Cantaloupe, Golden Glow, Hydrangea Hue, and Barely Blush is the last of the 5. And these colors will go from 2026 to 2028 before they're retired. These are a new magnetic ink pad, so they open very easily. They cling to each other. You can fold them upside down. This is the best way to ink upside down. Thank you, my friend Laura gave me that little tip, because I was thinking, oh, that is just way too narrow. It doesn't work very well. And there we go. So that's how you fix that problem. Now, these will stack, and they do stick to each other. Okay. So just so you know, those are our new ink pads. Those magnetic pads are only available in the new 26 to 28 in colors this year. Next year, they'll be available in more colors. Okay, in addition to those, we're going to be using some Stampin' Blends also in those in colors. And let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so let's do card number 1 here. Thought I got everything all cleaned out of my way, but apparently not quite so. All right, let's move that. Now, we're going to start with a card base in Barely Blush. And this is a standard A2 card base. And I've cut this at 5.5 by 8.5, scored it, and folded it in the middle at 4 1/4. Okay. Then I've got a piece of the Bloom Boutique Specialty Designer Series paper. This is also coming out next week. This is a sneak peek. This particular Designer Series paper has all of the new in colors in it, in all the patterns, and it also has gold foiling, and that's what makes it a specialty paper. So these are the patterns that you will find within there. Okay, so we're going to be using this pattern right here, this multi-bluish pattern. And what I've done is I've taken a piece that is 4 by 5 1/4. And then to save space, I took one of the perennial postage dies. We are not actually using the die, other than I want to use this as a layer, but I didn't want to waste all this beautiful paper. So I measured my next layer going on, and then I cut this out just so that I would have that piece of paper left for another project. Now, whether it stays in this particular perennial postage, I don't know, but at least I can use this for other things, and it's not just sitting in there wasted. Okay, so I've got that. I've also got a tiny piece of some Designer Series paper out of that same pack that I'm going to use on the inside of our card. Okay. And actually, we'll probably use this piece. This was left over from the 5.5, because it's a 12 by 12 piece of paper, so when you cut the 5 1/4 off twice, then you get this nice big piece left. So I'm going to cut this at about 3/8 of an inch for the inside, because I don't think I've actually completed the inside of my card yet. So I'm just going to cut 3/8 of an inch, and I'll still have this piece left for another card in the future. And then we needed a piece of Peaceful Pine two-tone cardstock, and you can tell there's the dark side, here's the light side. Okay, now what I've done with this is I've taken that Eyelet Blooms April product of the month, and I'm going to show you how I did this. So I took this piece, and it is 3.5 by 4 3/4. So I put that on the light side, and I laid it down on top of my die like this. And then I took my die cutting, my Stampin' Cut and Emboss plates. I've got plate 1. This is plate 2. Mine's a little warped, so I'm going to go ahead and use this upside down. And then I'm going to put my die on top of that. Now, what I'm doing is I'm making sure that I've got the flat, non-cut level side of the back there. And I'm going to put that down on there at an angle. Then I'm going to take this new Impressions, they call it an Impressions plate. This will be available next week in the new catalog. I actually have one from before, and that's what I'm using, is my old one. I didn't feel the need to buy a new one. Just make sure that's right. So again, plate 1, plate 2, die, paper, Impressions plate, and then your embossing plate 4. And you're going to run that sandwich through the die cut machine. Oops. And then when it's done, you're going to get this lightly embossed pattern. Rather than the die cutting all the holes in it, you're going to get an embossing. Okay? So that's just a new way to use your dies as embossing plates rather than die cuts. Okay, so that's how I did that. So we've got this. Now we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of stamping. So I've got a piece of basic white, and this piece should be, this is 3 3/4 by 2.5, so 2.5 by 3 3/4. And I'm going to start with my sentiment to make sure that well, no, I'm not. I'm going to put my butterflies on there. So I'm going to bring in the butterflies from Aflutter, and this comes as a 3 set. Okay, so I'm just going to get some Memento black here, and I'm going to stamp these up toward the top, leaving enough room at the bottom for my sentiment. Okay, I'm just going to let that sit for a minute and let that ink grab. And then we'll pick that up. Okay, and I'm going to let that dry. And while we're doing that, we're going to take the sentiment, which says, thinking of you today. And this sentiment is also from Aflutter, thinking of you today. It's a nice generic sentiment that can be used for birthdays, just want to say hello. It really is very versatile, and that's why I like it. So as you can tell, my sentiment is not going to fit on my 2.5 inch piece of cardstock here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Thinking of You, and I'm just going to put it on the ink pad here. There's enough space between Thinking of you that I can ink that up on the edge of the pad and not get ink here. Now, if you're worried about that, go ahead and put a piece of washi tape or Scotch tape or whatever to mask that off. And then I'm going to do the best I can centering this. I'm going to move that down a bit. I'm going to go with that. Okay, now I've got the Thinking of, and now I need to get You today, so I'm going to go ahead and clean this off. And wouldn't you know, I forgot to wet this down, so hang on. I've got a water bottle right here, spray bottle. I'm just going to mist that a bit. So I need to make sure that that is good and clean. And then I'm just going to dry that off on my hand. Just like that. And then I'm going to flip it around and I'm going to ink up You today. Okay. And I'll take a look at that and it looks good. So then I'll put this down here and stack it, center it. And now I've got my stacked sentiment ready to go. Okay. So there is that. And then we're going to take and color these. Okay. So let's take our Stampin' Blends. And we're going to start with, I'm going to start with Hydrangea Hue. And I'm going to start with the dark. And I'm just going to go in here randomly and put in some dark. And what I do on one side, I'm going to try and do on the other side. Okay. I'm going to do that. And then, okay, and then I'll go back in with my light and fill in the rest here. So we do have Stampin' Blends in all of the new colors. Now because I used the dark first and the light second, I don't have to be quite as careful with the light as I do with the dark. And then I'm going to take the Golden Glow. I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, so we've got the dark. And then we'll go with the light. Okay, I wonder if Facebook fixed the comment. Let me refresh my comments real quick and see if I've missed anything, because those don't seem to be where. Yep, look, I missed a bunch. Hello, Jennifer. Hello, Laura. Oh, good. Tracy, I'm glad you're loving those new ink pads. And the Bloom Boutique paper is gorgeous, isn't it? Especially with that, yeah, that pop of gold. Okay, so now we're going to take Crisp Cantaloupe, light and dark. So sorry that Facebook can't seem to get that problem fixed that they have with comments. Apparently they know about it and they just haven't updated and fixed it yet. Okay, so we're going to go here and here. I'll go here, and then we'll go here and here, here and here. And then finally, we're almost done here. We'll add in the light and finish those off. Okay, so we've got that. Now, you know, I cannot, you just can't. You got to have Wink of Stella. So I'm going to randomly swipe the butterfly wings of the Golden Glow and the Crisp Cantaloupe. I'm going to leave the Hydrangea Hue alone because we're going to stamp those again. And then we're going to cut those out. Okay, so we've got them stamped. We're going to stamp again. And this time, I'm going to use the punch to cut these out. So, what I always say when you're using punches is take a look at your punch, flip it over, make sure you know how to stamp so that you can easily punch. So in this case, if I put this just like this, I should have an easy punch. Okay, so we've got that. Now, I will color these again in the same colors that I just did this section. Voila. I didn't want you to have to look again. I added Wink of Stella to this hydrangea hue all over. I did add some Wink of Stella on these too because we're going to put these on the inside of the card, but this one is actually going on the outside of the card. So we're going to take our punch. I didn't want you to have to watch me color twice. We're going to take our punch and we're going to line that up. And when I get it just right, I'm going to give it just a gentle squeeze. And then I'm going to get both hands on it well, so that I don't damage any muscles. And now we've got 3 butterflies, just like these ones. So let's go ahead and start putting our card together here. We're going to take this piece and we're going to add this to the front of our card. So let's do that. The easiest way for me to be able to do that, because I cut all that stuff out of the center. Oh, come on. Let me get that little hindrance off of there. A little bit of dried glue. Come on. There we go. Let me grab a tissue. Looks like I had a little glue clog there that came out but kept dragging along. Okay, so we're just going to do this. And then we're going to add this to our card carefully because it's kind of floppy because I cut out this center. So we're going to get that on there and get it lined up and then press it down. And then we're going to take our piece here and we're actually going to add this to this piece first. So normally I like to use liquid, but I'm just going to add a little bit of extra Stampin' Seal. Ooh, let me close this up. Let me close this up so it doesn't dry out on me. And then we're just gonna, I put a nice border on here. This is actually a 1/2 inch border all the way around. So this piece is what, 2.5 by 3 3/4. So this piece is 3.5 by 4 3/4. And we're going to set that down there like that. And then we're going to add this here. But to add that, I wanted to add some Stampin' Dimensionals. So we're going to go ahead and add some dimensionals. And then we'll put this on. And center that up as best we can. Okay, I'm happy with that. Let's go ahead and put that down. And then we're going to take our hydrangea hue butterfly. I'm going to give that a little bit of a bend. I'm going to take my liquid glue. I'm going to put just a bit of liquid glue there. And then we're going to add this right on top. Give that a little press in the middle of that butterfly. I hope we didn't move it too far. And then we'll give that a minute to dry while we add our embellishments. And so I'm going to take some of the 26 to 28 in color dots. I could add butterflies, but I think that would be a little bit of overkill. So I'm going to take the dots that match those colors. And I'll take a small one here. We'll put a Barely blush. And then I'm going to take a Golden Glow. And we'll add Peaceful Pine over here. Okay. And we'll give that a press. Make sure that's pressed up good. And then we'll give that butterfly a little bit of character there. Pop up his wings, and we're ready for the inside of our card. Okay, so for the inside of our card, did I not do the inside of our card? Oh my goodness, you guys, I didn't cut those pieces. Let me grab it. Actually, it's already cut. The piece is already cut. I don't know what I'm saying. I just didn't pull it out. Okay, so then we've got that strip of paper that we cut. Where did it go? Apparently it ran off. Okay, no worries. We'll just cut another one, because we still have this piece. Oh, there it is right there. Right here. And we're going to add this. But before we do that, I'm going to take the little butterfly trail. And actually, I did use the Barely Pink for this. I'm going to take the butterfly trail. Let's move this out of the way. So we're going to take our Barely Pink. We're going to take this butterfly trail. And I'm going to go down here kind of in the corner. And I'm going to put that in. And then I'm going to clean that off, so I don't get ink on my finger. I'm going to lay my Cantaloupe Crisp butterfly in here. Kind of like this. We're going to put this down here. Got that. I'm going to put this kind of at an angle. Then I'm going to take this, and because this is photopolymer, I'm going to bend this a little bit. Okay. There we go. So then I'm going to ink that up. And I'm going to move that away. I'm going to stamp that down. And then we're going to take our ink. Whoops. Bend our little butterfly here. Take our ink, or our glue. We're going to put a little bit of glue on the body. I'm going to put that butterfly down. I'm going to do the same thing with this guy. And I'm going to put him down here. Kind of like that. And then we'll add our strip to the bottom. Flip that over and trim it off. All right, there we go. And there you have the inside of the card. Now I left the sentiment on the inside blank. because, like I said at the beginning, thinking of you goes for a lot of things. So I can add the sentiment that I wish for the inside when I get ready to send it. And there you have card number 1. Now I realize that when you fold the card and you send it away, those butterflies are going to flatten, but your recipient can fix that. Okay, so then for the envelope, I used the same set again, but this time I did this, and then I took the filler stamp. I wanted to show you guys this because I wanted to show you how nicely they made this stamp set for you. So I'm going to take the hydrangea hue. These butterflies with these new ink pads are really nice. So I can take the same hydrangea hue in the center, and I can lay this down without hitting the other two in the corner of this pad. Okay. Is that a cat hair or a scratch? It looks like one of the scratches that Nathan put on my blocks when he was playing. Okay, so then I can take this and I'll lay it down and stamp that up. And then I'll give that a quick clean. Move to the Golden Glow. Take the top butterfly. Easily I can ink that up on the pad. And again, I can lay that down. I'll clean my stamp one more time. And then I'll take the bottom one in Crisp Cantaloupe, ink that up. And now I've easily got 3 different colored butterflies with that one stamp, and I didn't have to color them with my blends if I didn't want to. Okay, so I hope you like that little tip on how to ink that butterfly in 3 different colors. I'm going to go ahead and refresh to see any new comments. Oh, good. I'm glad you guys liked that card. Yeah, Tracy, I am a sucker for butterflies as well, and I really like how well this is designed to make this so easy. Okay, so of course now I've got these 3 butterflies I can stamp and use for another project. So let's throw those in my little envelope so I don't lose them, along with these pieces. And then we'll start the next project. Okay, that piece doesn't want to cooperate there. All right, so we've got that. All right, moving on. Now we're going to move away from butterflies because it's all about the sneak peek week. So we're going to sneak peek some other products. And this time we're going to use Scalloped Blooms. This is a bundle. It's part of a suite. But we're just going to use the stamps and the dies. And then, just so you know, my envelope uses Addressed to You because that's my favorite envelope stamp decoration. Okay, so we've got these. To that, our main focal piece is coming from the Artisan Sketched Garden Designer Series paper. This is coming in the new catalog as well. don't know that these are all upside down. Maybe just this one. This is the piece that I'm using. I've cut out some images from this. This is all black and white. So you can ink blend, you can color with your markers. You could, I wouldn't recommend watercoloring on it unless you're using watercolor pencils and you're very, very light with the blending. Okay, so that is what we're using on this card. And we're going to be using that eyelet die once again. Okay, want you to have plenty of examples on how to use that die. So this time we're starting with Hydrangea Hue as our card base. Again, this is a standard A2 card size, 5.5 by 8.5, and scored in the center at 4 1/4. Burnish that. Then we have a piece of the basic white, and this one I've run through the embossing machine as is. Now I'm going to show you the sandwich that I use to get the best impression for this. So I take the eyelet die and then I'm actually using my magnetic platform, but if you don't have the magnetic platform, by all means use plate 1 and 2. That would be your standard sandwich, plate 1 and 2. Then you would put down the cutting plate that you usually use. I have one dedicated as a top plate and one as a cutting plate. And I'm sorry, I just did that wrong. You want to take your top plate and put it on your platform. So whether that's, well, you know what? Let's show you with a regular Stampin' Cut and Emboss. Just the real way you're supposed to do it. So you've got plate 1, then you've got plate 2. Then I'm putting down my, what I call my top acrylic plate. Then I'm going to put down my die, put down my paper, and then I'm going to put my cutting plate on the top. And then I'm going to run that through. Now, because of the way this die goes, I run it through, and then I pull it back out, and then I flip my cutting plate over, and I run it through again. If you run it back and forth, it really, really warps your plate. But if you run it through, flip your plate, and then run it through, you'll have better results. Okay, and it won't warp your plates as badly. Okay, so that's what you do, and then you get this. All right, so we've got that. Now, we're going to go ahead, and I wanted to show you, with the way this is set up, you can easily pop up some of these pieces. So before we do that, I'm going to take, this is one of the Scalloped Blooms dies. I cut this in black. This is the second to the largest die. Okay. So I cut that in black, and I'm going to set this on here like so. This is how it's going to go. And I'm going to take a look at that. And I want 2 of these and 1 down here. So I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to take my Tick Your Pick tool. And I know this is a little bit fussy, but it's a way to add a little bit more interest and dimension to your project. So I'm just going to take these little edge pieces from the part that's cut, and I'm going to pull those up just a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to take these ones and just pop that up like so. And again, I'm going to bring this down here, and then I'm going to do this one down here. You don't need to do them all, just some. Okay, so now I'm going to take this piece, and I'm going to go ahead and add this to my card base. So the way I'm going to put this down, I'm going to put a little glue in each of the 4 corners. Okay, and then I'm going to look for these spaces. These ones I can put down because I don't have these leaves popped up. Just going to put some little pieces here between all of these little petals and those cutouts. There's a nice big spot for some dots of glue. And I'll go along the edge here. And I'm just going to dot some glue. This is Tombow and it doesn't need a lot. But because you're using little tiny dots, it won't grab right away. So what we're going to do is we'll put our little dots on here. I want to make sure I've got plenty of glue at the edges. And I'm just hitting those larger spots where there's no holes. Okay. And then I'm going to put this down. And center that up and make sure that I have my 2 up and my 1 down. And let's straighten that all out nicely. Okay, and then I'm going to take a block and I'm just going to go along the edges and give that a little bit of pressure just to ensure that all of that glue adheres. Okay, that is the secret, is to just give it a little bit of a burnish. Okay, so now we can set this aside and let that dry. Now we have this piece that, like I said, I cut from the Scalloped Blooms. That's the front. I also cut some pieces. So I cut a piece of the Wood Grain Wonders Designer Series paper. I've used that several times in the past. And this piece is 1.5 inches by 4. Okay. Then I took a piece of basic white. And you need a piece that is 4 inches by around 3 inches. This one's a little bit bigger than that. 3 1/4. I'm going to die cut it, so it really doesn't matter. And I ran this through the eyelet die with that impressions mat. Okay. Just so that I got the embossing and not the cutting. So you can see right there what the difference is. Okay. I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to take a little bit of Barely Blush ink and a blending brush. And the secret with Barely Blush is to don't get carried away. You can't see it very well, and you'll think it's not there, and then all of a sudden you're darker than you intended. So just be cognizant of that. When I blend, I always blend off first. Okay, let's see. Right now, that's not looking like it has a lot of color on it. But we're going to double check this by putting it against the black, because that's going to really tell us how much color we have or don't have. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit more up here. Okay, we've got that. And I really just want I really do want just barely a blush. Okay, so I'm going to call that good. And then we're going to wipe this off because even as light as it is, it will still mess up your project if you get it where you don't want it. Okay. Now we're going to take this piece and this piece, and we're going to put these two together. All right? And the idea of this is to make this look like a counter and this look like the wall. So I'm going to put this piece on top of this piece. So I'm just going to put a little bit of liquid glue along there. And then I'm going to meld these two pieces together. Like so. Okay. And I'm using my grid to line that up to make sure I've got everything straight. So I'll give that a good press. And then I need to die cut this. So we cut the black one with the next to the largest, and that one had some detail around it. So now we're going to go to the third largest, which doesn't have any detail. And we're just going to cut this. Okay, I'm going to cut this about like that, and I'll run it through my die cut machine, which I have right here. And of course, I can't use the mini because I cut the piece at 4 inches, so that's too big to go through the mini. The die itself, I think, is not, but I cut my cardstock too big to go through. So we're just going to put this in here and run this through. Okay. Okay. And then we'll set the die cut machine out of the way. Grab our piece. And we will be ready to go here. Okay, so we've got that. And let's go ahead and put that away. This is going to be our main focal image. We're going to attach these together. These two are going to go together like so. So let's go ahead and do that now. Yep, I don't think I need to not do it now. I'm going to make sure that I put extra seal right over that seam. And then I'm just going to put this together. And by doing this now, it doesn't matter how I line this up. I don't have to worry about it being straight or anything else because I can turn this to make sure it's straight when I go to put it on the card now. Okay, so now we've got from that piece of the Artisan Sketched Garden, that piece of paper there, I've got this vase of flowers. Okay, so we're going to start with Barely Blush. I'm going to start with a dark. And this is actually going to be the color of our vase. Okay, so we're just going to put in a little bit of detail here. Follow the artist's lines. And then we'll fill that in with the Barely Blush light. Okay. There we go. All right. For the greenery, we're going to use Peaceful Pine Light. Now, I could have chose to put some shadows in and do all that, but this is pretty thin. So I'll just go back over a couple of the areas just to give a little bit of darkness, which is what you can do if you only have one blend because your other blend ran out of ink. Okay, so we've got that. I almost feel like this should have a little bit there. Okay. Now we're going to use Hydrangea Hue for our flowers. I'm going to start with the dark. I'm just going to put a little bit of dark in the centers here. Just dab in some color. And then I'm going to finish that off with the light. Okay. All right. So we have that. Now that only took a minute to color. And then we're just going to have to fussy cut this out. But you'll see here just how quick this really goes. This image is not difficult. And I felt it was well worth the fussy cut. Of course, if you have one of those Brothers scan and cut machines, you could put this entire sheet into your scan and cut them all out at the same time. Okay, and of course your fussy cutting can be as detailed or as loose as you like. I like mine to be a little bit more detailed. So I'm probably going to go around more places than the average fussy cutter would, just because of how I like things to be and how fussy I am about my fussy cutting. Okay. So we're almost done. And even with as detailed as I got, still doesn't take that long. And yes, I am going to go down in here because I'm crazy like that. And then, I know normally you guys, I don't fussy cut in front of you. But I felt it was important to show you how easy these really do cut. And really, just turn with your left hand and open and close the scissors with your right. And there you go. Okay, so now we have this. This is going to go on here. We have one more piece to stamp, and hopefully I die cut that piece. Oh, apparently I did not. Silly me. Let's get that piece to die cut. We need this little piece right here. This is also from those Scalloped Blooms dies. And because we're doing it this way, we might as well do it the way I like to do it best. So I'm just going to take a piece of basic white here. I'm going to take the sentiment, "You're a Blessing to Me." I'm going to take that and stamp it in Peaceful Pine because I want that to be nice and dark. So we're going to do "You're a Blessing." I'm going to put this down here just to make sure I can easily do this. I'm also going to put this over to the left So if I do this like this, I should be fine. Okay, so we've got that. Now we can use our mini this time. So we'll grab our mini machine. So that just makes things easier. We've got plate 1, plate 2, paper, die. I'm going to put that me kind of like that. Okay, hang on. Let me move that out of the way for just a second. It's easier for me to straighten that up a bit if I can see the grid. Okay, so then I'll just take and tape that down, put it on the plate, and run that through. All right, there we go. And now we have our sentiment ready for us. Okay, now we can finish putting it together. That's everything we should need. Let's get some dimensionals. And this is going to go like this. So I want to put this on, and I want to get this up here, kind of like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of Stampin' Seal. I'm getting down to the end on this. And I'm going to slide this in here how I want it. Kind of like that. I want to cover up this seam here. So we're going to get that over there far enough that it doesn't impede our sentiment, that the focal image doesn't impede the sentiment. And then we're going to add some dimensionals here. I'm going to grab a mini or two. Put up here on these smaller pieces. Okay. And then we'll add this. Let's get that nice and straight. We'll add this. And then we'll be done. Almost done. We're not quite done. Okay, so we've got that. Now we can go ahead and add this to our card base. And here we are. I just ran out of seal, but we have another one right here ready to go. So let me get it started. There we go. Come on, you were starting. Why are you being stubborn? There we go. Anytime you have trouble with this, just run it on your silicone mat. Oh, I put that empty one back in the spot where I need the full one to be. Then we're going to add this in here. Just like that. Making sure that our scallop doesn't go over on either side. We'll give that a good press. And then we just have some gems and a ribbon. So we're going to get some linen thread. And I just want a little bow here. I don't want anything massive. I'm going to see if a double bow will work. I did a single bow on my sample card because I only had a tiny piece of the linen thread left on that bolt. And I didn't want to grab out a new one, so I had to use the end of it. So it got a single. Okay. So we're just going to take, and oh yeah, double will work perfectly. We're going to add a glue dot to that. I take the bow to the glue dot, then I use my tweezers to put that glue dot down around the bow. And we'll add that about right there. Okay, now we're going to bring in our butterflies. And I'm also going to bring in some rhinestone basic jewels. So we're going to take the rhinestone basic jewels. And I'm going to get the tiny ones. And I'm going to put one there. And one here. And one there. Okay, let's go ahead and give those a good press with the tip of our Take Your Pick. And then we're going to bring in the 26 to 28 in color butterflies, another sneak peek here. And let's do... I'm going to use the Barely blush. So I'm going to put one here, and I'm going to put a tiny one down here, just like that. Give those a press, and there is our card. Okay, for the inside of this card, I've taken and stamped "Wishing you a day of relaxation, happiness, and love." And that's also from the Scalloped Blooms. It's right there. Now, I thought I had a little piece of this cut, but you know what? I can't find it. So what I'm going to do is I've got this piece that I have left here. And this would normally just go in the trash. So I'm just going to take this piece and I'm going to cut this at 1/2 inch. And that will go on the inside of our card here on the bottom, just as an added little texture. And I think I might go ahead now and bring a little more Barely blush into that. Just what's left on the brush. And then we'll just glue this along the bottom. Now, my thought with this particular card was that you could easily use this as a Mother's Day card. And because it doesn't specifically say Mother's Day, you could go ahead and, if you have a Happy Mother's Day stamp, you could stamp that in there. I don't currently have any current ones. And, or you can just write, "Mom, wishing you a day of relaxation, happiness, and love." My mom's birthday and Mother's Day just happened to be 3 days apart, so I can use this for either. Okay, it's being silly again. Oh, because I grabbed the empty one. Silly me. Let's grab the one that actually has some adhesive in it and set the one aside that's empty. Okay, So there we go. And then as I promised you, I used the addressed to you for the envelope. And I colored the flowers in hydrangea hue, used peaceful pine for the leaves, and then I used the golden glow for the centers of the flowers and those little dots. And there you have it. So here are our 2 cards for our sneak peek products for today. Okay, let me go ahead and refresh so that I can see what you had to say and say goodnight. Okay, good. Yeah, those hello, Lynette. Those scallop dies are really great and they layer so nicely. So anyway, everybody, I will see you soon. If you're going to be at the crop on Saturday, I look forward to that day. You don't know how much. And everybody else, I will see you Thursday night on YouTube at 7 p.m. Or I'll be right back here again next Tuesday night, same time, same bat channel. Good night, everybody. Have a great week.